What would a doctor say to an instantaneous six-figure swing in revenue, accompanied by more time with patients and less burnout? By the end of this episode, you'll understand where AI is actually being used in healthcare today, what's working, and where the gap between hype and reality still exists. BAM AI is helping private practices drastically improve its bottom line so that doctors can get back to doctoring.
Is AI here to help us or to take over? Tune in today and we'll talk to Chris Chomenko, founder of BAM AI, who's going to take us down the projected path that AI will carve in our lives, our businesses, and humanity as a whole.
Hey, welcome back to Vital Discourse. I'm Dr. Ben Salento, and here with Dr. Lee Mandel. We are joined by Christopher Chomenko. I'm excited to have Chris on with us today. Chris is the CEO and founder of BAM AI, and he's no stranger to building at the frontier of AI in healthcare. He and his partner, Phil Sitter, are well known in the medical AI space for their meteoric rise with RepeatMD. It's a groundbreaking AI software that's helped over 3,000 med spas achieve peak efficiency. Now with BAM AI, Chris is tackling what may be the biggest challenge facing the more than 1 million private medical practices in the U.S., and that's controlling overhead and driving accuracy and efficiency in billing, collections, and HR, and probably a lot more as we move on. BAM's new RCM software is built to do exactly that. Chris, welcome to the show. Let's start at the top. After everything you and Phil built with RepeatMD, what made RCM the problem that you wanted to solve next?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you gentlemen. Fantastic podcast you have here. And look, I think that when we see the challenges and, coming from RepeatMD with medical aesthetics and wellness, we recognize that what practices really needed was some operational efficiency. We have the saying that we can't, with our technology with RepeatMD, we can't use it to make an inefficient practice efficient, but we could take good practices and make them great. And what we realize now for the first time with AI, we can actually do some of that work for practices that are maybe overloaded, in the traditional sense, and take some of that off of their plate and now get work done for them, ultimately saving them, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the size of the practice. And so RCM was just a really natural evolution in the kind of the process of like, hey, we already have tackled the marketing and sales side of like helping businesses and especially medical practices grow. Now, what's the most valuable thing that we could take off their plate or help them with on the operational side? And RCM was just a no-brainer, because when you look at the world of RCM as it exists today, there's two major buckets, right? You have bucket one, I'm paying for outsourced RCM, and I'm paying an arm and a leg, 4 to 9% of my gross overall, which, is gross to think about. Or we're hiring full teams, right? We have maybe 4 full-time employees, a couple part-time employees, or some type of hybrid version. And I know as a surgeon, as a doctor, having to, do hiring and, worrying about replacing employees, and like, it just takes away from the actual craft. Like, you want to spend your time with the patient doing the actual work of, of a doctor, not having to be like a full-time staff manager on the side. So we recognize, like, in 2026, with the development of Agentic AI, now is the time to actually take these workflows and move them out of the RCM world, move them out of the employee world, and use computers where they're most suited to help us, which is a lot of these routine, every single day tasks that ultimately make us more profitable and make our lives easier.
So, Chris, let's simplify this a little bit, because some of the terminology that you're using, maybe not everyone understands. So tell us what RCM is. Tell us what Agentic AI is. Let's talk a little bit about the terminology so we can get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, you got it. I'm deep in the building game, so the vernacular is in my blood. So anytime, you can call me out, let me know. But so RCM stands for Revenue Cycle Management. And what Revenue Cycle Management is, it's everything from the time the patient enters into your ecosystem to the time, let's say, we get paid, right? And that means paid by the patient, paid by the payer, and everything in between. So we've broken down RCM for our practice, the revenue cycle management, into 5 major buckets, which we deploy agents to solve. Now I'll go back and I'll explain what, agents are and how that piece works in just a second. But the 5 major buckets that we've identified with RCM are insurance verification being one. Verification is making sure that when a patient comes in, we verify all of their insurance information. Some of the main work that goes into that is getting prior authorization codes. That's where the teams currently spend a lot of their time sitting on hold, for 60 to 90 minutes. And, the insurance companies don't do us any favors, right? Like, they probably could answer those calls in 2 minutes, but they choose not to, because any friction ultimately benefits them, not you, the practice. So we use AI.
Deny and delay.
Yeah, the delay game, right? Like, the best offense is a good defense for the insurance company. So guess what? Where your employees may get burnt out sitting on hold, an AI can sit on hold indefinitely, and they can sit on hold for 5, 10, 15 calls. And so you already see, like, the power of shifting some of these human tasks to the machine, because I actually honestly feel bad for the people whose job it is to sit in a small little broom closet under fluorescent lighting, waiting on hold all day, waiting their whole life away just to talk to somebody halfway across the world about a prior authorization code, right? I guarantee that employee doesn't necessarily need to be replaced in your office. Like, you can, if you have an AI to do the work for them, but you could also find a higher utility role for them in the office if they weren't eating up their time just sitting on hold, right? So bucket number 1 is verification, and I'll go through the rest quickly and we can dive in any ones we want to talk about. Second is claim prep. So after we make sure all the insurance is good, so like, hey, we know the insurance company will pay us if we do the work. We have our dictations and we have our bills. Now what the AI is going to do is going to go through all of your bills. It's going to make sure everything looks clean, dialed in, buttoned up before we submit them. And now what this is going to do is going to prevent denials across the board, because now you have something that has perfect memory, perfect ability to recall and like read every single word, a million words a second, reviewing all of your claims, reviewing all of your bills, and making sure they go in perfectly. Therefore, we prevent a lot of the denials and revenue loss right off the bat. And part of that is also scouring the websites of the different payers, the different insurance companies, to see what rules changes they have to make sure we're actually submitting the claims properly. Because, one of the things I've noticed in this work is the majority of aging AR buckets that's unrecoverable, these $10, $15, $30,000 bills, come because we submitted it properly at the time, or so we thought, but the insurance company had changed a rule overnight that we never caught. They sat on it forever, and then 90 days later they said, you know what, sorry, we can't pay it. You have XYZ wrong, and unfortunately it's not right anymore. And now if your team doesn't catch that, you're on a ticking clock. And the next time you submit it, they could turn around and say, oh, you know what? We'd love to pay you.
Timely filing. Yeah, they tell you timely filing. Sorry. Yeah, that's the game. That's the game. Actually, the insurance company plays that game better than anybody because they wrote the rules to it. So they have no obligation to tell you if they've made a change. You just have to figure it out. Well, you don't have the manpower to do that as a private practitioner. So AI, what I'm hearing is that the AI will do that at whatever rate you set, every 5 minutes, every day, every week. They can check constantly to make sure that you don't submit something inappropriately. That's sweet.
Yeah, insurance company rules are kind of like the law. Ignorance is not a defense, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, 100%. And, the insurance company, for lack of a better word, they build their system around ignorance, right? They understand the gaps in RCM as it exists today, right? With your office staff, like, unless you train your office staff to do that research on a daily basis, they know that they're going to slip in those like little minor tweaks under the radar, and they're well coached and well versed on what to look for and how to deny. And like I said, whenever I look at an average practice that has $300,000-$400,000 in AR over 120 days, and I have the AI do a full diagnosis, like we actually do this AI leak detector for our clients that are like new, that just want to understand where the revenue is going. And 75% of that cash, those hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're never going to get back, come from that exact cause. The insurance company switched it up on us over, I like to call it, overnight. They changed the game. and then they use that as an excuse not to pay us. And Dr. Lee, you're 100% right? Ignorance is not the defense. Like, that's your money. And if you don't do anything about it to prevent it, like, they will keep taking it from you year after year after year. And you just have to ask yourself a question, like, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars or how many surgeries am I willing to do free for the insurance company just because I don't have the manpower to go in and check every single line of their updates every single day, right? With AI, you don't have that problem, because guess what the AI does? It works every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no vacations, no holidays, and it does it perfectly, right?
No bathroom breaks.
No bathroom breaks, not yet, at least, not until the robotics companies you've invested in actually put robots in the offices. But that's a podcast for another time.
And Chris, explain the difference between, for example, AI is sending those claims out, on the fly immediately as soon as they go in, versus your standard, for example, billing company, or even your office sometimes, which you might not see a claim go out for a week after, or even more than that, after the actual service is rendered. What does that mean to your AR and to your collections?
If your time to submission is less than 6 days, you're doing pretty good if you have humans doing it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And one of the things that I hear about, like, outsourced RCM as a doctor, that's kind of tough to deal with, is the lack of insight, right? So it's like you don't really know what's happening. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, there's some stuff happening, but don't look behind the curtain. I've even had doctors tell me that, like, all of a sudden, like, my, the checks started getting smaller, and I had to start making some calls over the RCM people. And next thing you know, like, the checks are flowing again. So it's like, who knows if they just, like, forgot about my account. But, like, this tends, like, that's human nature, because you have to understand, like, outsourced RCM, what does it outsource mean? It means it's outsourced to a team in India or the Philippines of 20 or 30 people that are doing the work, for a fraction of what an American staff member would cost. And we don't really know what's happening over there, right? So the truth is, what we find when you implement AI and take it out of the human domain, because it's all humans as it exists now, those 6 to 7 day gaps turn into, like, daily gaps, because what the AI is designed to do on the claims on all pieces is daily runs. So every single day, the AI is gonna, quote unquote, wake up, at a certain time. It's called a cron. So AIs basically get these, like, alarm clocks and say, hey, time to start doing this work. And we can set that to do it once a day, once a week, once a month, right? It's all very modular. But daily on the claims says, hey, let me go through and check all of the, the newest bills that have hit my bucket. Let me scour them, check them, and make sure they're good to go. But what's really fascinating is AI doesn't just check it and say, hey, Dr. Lee, I checked it. Here's the 7 that are wrong. Go get to work. It actually has the ability to say, hell, this is wrong. This is what's wrong. Let me fix it, and go in and actually fix it and resubmit it. And what we've designed the AI in our system to do, at least, is to fix all of the obvious errors that are known quantities. In those edge cases that maybe need some human decision making, the AI will stop and say, hey, let me put this in front of, somebody to make sure that I know what they want to do. Then the human says, hey, do this, do that, or like, hey, your concept is good, go for it. And the AI will then go forward and actually fulfill it. But that's only 2 buckets. I'll hit the other 3 real quick, and we can talk about which ones we want to dive into. But once you have your claim preparation, the next piece you have is your payment posting, right? So now it's like the insurance companies are coming back to us. They're letting us know, like, hey, here's all your payments, and here's all the money we are not going to pay you, right? So you get all these underpayments. And so what has to happen is somebody in your team or the RCM has to be perfect in knowing exactly what underpayment looks like across the board. So I'll give you just like one real world example that we hit. I don't know if I'm allowed to call out payers by name on this podcast, but we'll call them an insurance company that rhymes with Igna. They they have this real bad habit of underpaying for sleep studies, right? So they say, oh, well, this actually, we're only going to pay you $43 when it should be $186. And it's the same code, the same reason every single time. But if you submit the right response, you'll get the full amount. And think about how many sleep studies an ENT does over a given, period of 6 months, right? That's like $120 times 1,000. This stuff adds up pretty quickly, right? So the AI is trained to know, oh, look for this because it's seen it 100 times, and it flags it, tags it, makes the adjustment, resubmits it on your behalf before it gets posted. So what it's doing is it's looking at all the payments that are coming in, all the ones that are good, posting it so you get those payments posted right away. So time to realize revenue goes way up, and it's flagging and tagging anything that needs to be resubmitted because if we got underpaid, we're flagging and tagging anything that got denied for whatever denial reason, which moves into bucket number 4, which is our denial agent, which handles all denials. And denials are the best way to work those is all the time. And this is where the team as humans really fall short, because here's what we're trying to do as humans, right? And like, Docs, y'all can probably attest to this. Like when you have something to follow up on, what do we do? It's like, oh, I got to do this. You make the call. They tell you, okay, we'll get back to you. And you just kind of check that off your list, right? Your team's like, okay, I made the call. I'm waiting to get back to me. But if they don't ever get back to you, it's like checked off. We've already moved on to the next 10 things. Well, AI doesn't forget. The AI doesn't check it off until the job is actually done. So what's it going to do? It's going to follow up relentlessly. You've seen so many times where the team will follow up very diligently for like a week, for 2 weeks. But after a couple of weeks,
it falls off.
And it falls off, right? That's just human nature. It's like, man, I hammered for 2 weeks, but shit, like, other things have come up. AI will literally follow up until you call them off. And that's the power of like the AI denial agent's ability to go in and do that work with intention, with an obsession that, a person can't match, because a person has a life and an AI only has like this as an objective. And then the final bucket is the AR agent, which essentially just goes into your AR, looks at all the revenue that we can recover, goes in and attempts to recover it, whether that's from your patients, creating a simple cadence of follow-up and trying to get them to pay, by clicking links and putting in credit cards, or if that's with your payers and just going in and scouring where those opportunities are. But like the number one thing you'll find out with an AI agentic system real quick is that AR bucket that you're looking at, or you intentionally don't look at because it makes you sick, is going to come down quickly over time, right? And that's the goal. The goal is, AR 120 at 0. And, if I had to summarize it all, the RCM cycle, right? Using agentic AI, the primary goal is to really to crush your practice's overhead, to shrink that overhead, expand your EBITDA, and make you a more profitable practice. And one of the things, like Ben, I've told you this before, but whenever you cut your expenses, it's better than $1 of new revenue, because $1 of new revenue, you're still paying all your overhead on, but every dollar you save in expenses or get back, that's one full dollar that goes right in your pocket, because that's $1 that's already gone, right? So it's a beautiful thing.
So BAM's game is to lower the overhead and make it more efficient and collect what you're owed.
100%, right? If you could spend half the cost that you're spending now on your overall revenue cycle management, right? Either think about the entire cost of your team or what you're paying to the outsourced RCM team. Imagine a world where you could cut that, like just take a knife, cut it in half. That's your new cost. And on the other side of it, if you could start recovering more, have more insight and transparency to the process, it's a win-win, right? Because you're cutting costs and you're expanding margins on the back end. And that's how ultimately you have a more profitable practice, right? If you just looked at a practice, let's say you're potentially thinking about selling your practice, and you did this before, and you got this system implemented before, you could be talking about a potential 7-figure difference, a multiple difference in how much you sell your practice for, right? Because how does private equity grade it? It's based on your margins, based on its ability to be profitable.
Your EBITDA.
Yep, exactly.
So with that said, I mean, as a physician, Lee and I know that we're inundated now on Facebook and on social media and commercials and ads. There are hundreds of companies out there claiming to do some sort of AI for healthcare. What makes BAM actually different? Like, what if you could summarize it or condense it? Why is BAM so different, and why is it literally on the bleeding edge of AI and agentic healthcare?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it's a fair question. And, I don't really like to take the opportunity to dunk on other people and what they're building and what they're trying to accomplish, right? I think there's, merit to, most people's attempt at a solution. But BAM is built differently because it's built what I call the next evolution of like agentic AI. And just like to backtrack in case you're and I know a lot of us out there, over the past 2 years, we've been hearing AI just beating us in the face everywhere we go, whether it's LinkedIn or social media. It's like AI everything, and you have influencers all over trying to, sell you AI courses or AI this, AI that, and it's overwhelming. And I know a lot of us promised to, like, this is going to be my year. I've got to really learn AI and dive into it. And the challenge I find with that is, like, learning AI is like trying to learn a new language where the alphabet's changing all the time. It's like, man, I learned this great new system, and as soon as you're done, it's like, oh, well, sorry, that's irrelevant. Forget that. That's the old thing. Now you got the new thing.
Right.
This is 2 weeks ago. Like, what are you doing? Wake up, right?
Yeah,
And so,
version 4 point whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and so most people are like, screw it, man. It's like I got no shot, right? And that's like one of the challenges. And so if you fall asleep, or intentionally just like say, man, I can't keep up. Well, guess what? You're going to be kind of susceptible to like all the different AI systems, right? So, like, I'll put it to you like this. If you bought into something that was quote unquote agentic AI, like even 6 months ago, it really wasn't agentic AI. What you had is just basically code masquerading as an agent, but it was still a code making binary choices, yes and no, but it was doing it automatically for you, not quite like a thinking computer that was like really
So it was more
able,
like a bot, not an agent.
a very powerful bot. That's a great way to think about it, right? So you have all these AI softwares, and I put them in really three buckets. So bucket one are your softwares that basically take an LLM. LLMs are like, your Claude or your ChatGPT. They take a software layer, and they are able to like take the data from those LLMs, and they're able to spit out something and polish it and make it look kind of new. So for instance, I could go on ChatGPT and put in a piece of my writing, and it could edit it for me and make it look nice. But there's also AI softwares that I can subscribe to that will do that for me, but in a more polished kind of package, right? So that's like kind of AI bucket one. It's like, I'm going to sell a nice, pretty interface that really sits on top of an AI that you can pay me for. Those are called AI wrappers. Okay.
Chris, just define LLM for us.
LLM is a large language model. So if you look at ChatGPT, that's what it is. And so the reason why they call it that is because they're trained on hundreds of millions of points of data, and they speak to you in English, right? So these are models that think in English. They process information in well, I guess English for me, could be any language you want, but they speak in human languages. For now, that's a whole conversation for another day. But the LLM is basically the brain behind AI, right? That's
So
where
ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, those things, those are LLMs.
those are all the LLMs, and all software all AI software uses those as the brain of their software to a certain degree. Okay, so even us, right, at BAM, our agents need a brain, and they're tethered to an LLM to think on the parts where they need to think. Okay, that's just a big part of it, right? And the better the smarter those LLMs get, the smarter the agents get. So what separates BAM is the simple fact that we are an agentic class software. And agents basically mean that they do the work for you. Agents, like, I have this little funny saying. Well, at least I think it's funny. No one ever laughs when I say it, so maybe I should stop saying that. But I like to say, if you can train Claudia to do it, you can train Claude AI to do it. Ha ha, cue the chorus. But that's kind of the truth of it. It's like when I'm working, I
so
literally see yeah, I know I'm not like my stand-up routine didn't take out. That's why I got into software, guys, to be fully transparent. But when I'm using the agents, like, I can see it doing the work on my computer. Like, I see it take over and start clicking through buttons and doing the things that a human would do, but it's doing in a fraction of a second. Like, even like we talked about the verification engine, the AI is literally verifying all the information that your team would do, right? Where and we've timed it takes the average team member like 7 to 8 minutes to do this whole process. AI does it in about 2 to 3 seconds, right? So it's same things. It's just doing it so much faster because it doesn't have to rely on fingers to click buttons. It has direct ports into the technologies to do it. So the powerful part about the kind of reel it back in here, the most powerful part and the biggest differentiator between BAM and a lot of the other services is this is a complete solution to a very specific problem. We're not trying to bolt this is not a tool that's trying to say, hey, we're going to staple all these other AIs together and do all these different things. It is AI, Agentic, which means it does the actual work for you, like designed to tackle RCM tip to tail. Now, that doesn't mean that RCM is going to be the only thing that we're going to use these agents for, but we're going to go into your practice. We're going to solve RCM. We're going to cut that major cost down. We're going to start finding all of these loose coins on the fringes and bring them back into your bank account. And then down the road, we say, hey, where else can we take this technology and implement it in the practice? Is it on our marketing motions? Is it in our patient retention motion? And ultimately, we'll find that like agents will find a home in every business in the world. It's just the way the world is trending. But BAM is a worker software. It is not a workflow software. Workflows meaning like, hey, it allows us to do our job easier. That's like kind of agents 1.0. We're in agent 2.0 world where it's like, hey, we're not going to make your job easier. We're just going to get the job done so you actually have the result. So it's like agents 2.0 are outputs. And that's what BAM is. BAM delivers an actual result. It delivers.
Let me ask you a question then, because there was a lot of people in medicine, especially surgery and ENT, which Lee and I know intimately well. We always, when something comes out, we've all been burned before, and so we're kind of like, okay, let me just let this play out and see if it's something I want to jump into. Why is this moment right now, April 2026, the inflection point for practices to adopt this?
And to jump on what Ben just said, AI is scary, right? I mean, look at Mythos. Mythos was.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in a bit in great detail of what happened with Mythos, so we don't get off in a tangent. But,
right, but just what I'm saying is that it's the idea of AI is scary to a lot of people in the age of HIPAA and whatnot.
Yeah, they want to wait and see if there are any big disasters before they jump in. Why do you think that right now is the inflection point, not a year from now? What makes this the moment?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And if you would have asked me the same question a year ago, I would have told you probably should wait about a year because it's not the moment. And it really has to do with your understanding of where agents are and what their capabilities are. So I would say now agents are capable of actually delivering the output like we talked about before, where before it was like so much more about like making your life easier. Now it's about done for you. But the best way to think about like why now is the right time to take action and why you shouldn't be scared is this, right? So think about your current state of RCM. We think it's so secure, we think it's so compliant, but really in reality, if you're outsourcing your RCM, that means you have a team of 30 people halfway across the world that have access to your patient health every single day. And we better hope that there's, systems are secure and their facilities are secure and that there's no bad actors overseas that we have no control, no insight over that can do a lot of things with our personal healthcare information, right? I think that's, to me personally, like that seems like a little bit of a bigger risk than the second opportunity, which is my own internal team. But even with a lot of the internal teams, our data suggests, because when we go into a practice, we learn their systems deeply. And one of the things we learn is like, hey, employees leave and go home for the day. And a lot of times they leave their computer screens on, unlocked, where somebody could walk by and go in there and get information off the screen. So like our systems that we have today that we think like, hey, these are so secure and protected and so safe, they're not as safe as we think. AI actually offers the most like compliant and secure setting that ever existed. Now, a lot of people talk about like, oh, well, AI, it's not 100% secure. That's phooey. It's literally built on some of the most secure systems on the planet. Like AWS has like the highest encryption in the world. That's why so many Fortune 100 companies trust all of their data in the AWS cloud. Same thing that we're based off of. In addition to that, for our clients, all of their processes are stored locally on hard drives. So that would mean someone would literally need to find our office, break into our locked office, steal our hard drives to have access, and then be able to decrypt the hard drives to have access to your information. So what's more secure really? Is it the storage that we have paired with like the most powerful authenticators and like verification, like security systems on the planet with like AWS? Or is it, a team of 30 people in the Philippines that have access to your data? So like like fear over a compliance issue, not there. But why now? The reason why now is I look at it like any great new technology. So I have some experience building technology for the restaurant space. One of our early startups was a company called VIP Insiders. And one of the things I really remember is food delivery. You guys, I'm sure y'all recall, how when like the food delivery apps like just started, like we forget about it. But the first movers, the people that adopted that first, they made all the money. Like they really did. They crushed it to the point where it wasn't an option to have food delivery anymore. If you think about it, they used to say, oh, that will never come to fine dining. Like you'll never get somebody to order a steak to go. But now fine dining makes up like 40% of all food delivery. You guys probably have partaken in this.
Yeah,
Right?
we do it almost every day.
All right. Right. So it's like you look at like your favorite restaurants, like, Ruth's Chris or Vic and Anthony's, and like those guys are like, no, never going to be us. But now like they are. But guess what? The game has shifted because they didn't get early. They weren't able to negotiate like the better rates, and they ultimately had to play a lot of catch up. And so I will tell you this, like point blank, it probably doesn't make sense for everybody to jump on with AI right now. It really doesn't. But if your practice and your intention is to like, I want to sell my practice in the next 2 to 3 years, then you better jump onto AI, because it's going to make your practice way more valuable. Because every private equity group I've talked to, every, roll up of any, whether it's ENTs or women's health, the number one thing that they're all talking about and looking for is how we can cut our cost always and expand our EBITDA. And the number one way they're going about trying to do that, what's your guess? It's AI, right? So those are the conversations. So when you go into a practice, when they look at a practice that's not AI enabled, the first thing they're going to see is like, here's a value opportunity for us because we know we can implement our AI and we can expand EBITDA, but they're going to pay you less and take advantage of the fact that you don't have AI because your EBITDA is smaller just because you haven't given it this ultimate expansion tool. So like, if you're happy with your practice exactly the way it is, and you've got you're good and copacetic, and you don't plan on selling, and you have no real need to expand or make more money, then like, cool. Like I don't encourage you to do this. But if you're like, hey, I'm tired of losing all the cash. If I'm planning on I want to maximize the value before I sell it, right? Get everything like my EBITDA pushed up to the max before I sell, or you're just tired of having to, manage a team of 5 or 6 people. Like AI is here. It can do the work. It can do the job. So like, this is the time to jump on, because I'll tell you, like, because it's new, like you're going to get the best deals of your life. In 4 or 5 years, and everybody has AI, it's just like Uber. When Uber first popped out, the rides were free almost. Like they were paying you to take rides. It was like, it would cost me $15 to get across town. That same ride today costs me like $75, right? So once AI RTM companies have taken over in 2 years and everybody's on it, the friends and family discount is over, right? You're going to go back to paying about the same as you're paying now. Of course, you'll still have the upside because it'll be better at the job and you'll collect more revenue. So it'll be worth it. But like, if you jump in now, you're going to get better pricing. That's just the way the world works, right? As they begin to like become the go-to, they know that they can charge more because it's been proven. So like, jump in now, lock in a nice contract that's going to get you great pricing for the next 3 to 5 years, and make your practice more valuable, make your life easier. Like that's my honest take, is like, depending on where you are, you either absolutely need to jump on or sit back and enjoy your life, whatever is whatever.
So what I'm hearing then is like, if you don't want to make money, if you don't want to be efficient, and you want to work harder, don't use AI.
I would say this: if you've got to look at what type of person you are, right? I love Tony Robbins. For anybody out there that's a Tony fan, he has this great phrase where he says, like, there's two major, as Tony would say, there's 2 major motivating forces. He's like, there's people that are motivated by going towards pleasure or away from pain, right? So for us, we look at what type of person you are. Are you motivated by avoiding pain? So those are the people that are probably going to look at AI and say, maybe I'll wait, because they look at it and say, man, the pain of having to change and learn something new potentially, just like, I rather, like, the devil I know, right? Like I already know about these problems and these struggles. Like I like just having to deal with something else. It's not for me. The people that are motivated by pleasure, well, they're going to jump on, because they're motivated by growth mindset. So it's like, hey, I want to jump on. So we're always going to have that group of people. It's like, I want to be on the bleeding edge. I want to get in there and see if I can make my life better. Those people are typically our early adopters, but I would tell the folks that are motivated by like, hey, trying to avoid pain and the discomfort of change. Because look, Dr. Lee, to your point, like it's scary, it's new, there's a lot of moving pieces. One of the things that's important to me at our company, at least, is giving people like peace of mind. So we actually have what's called a total satisfaction guarantee, which is important, meaning like, hey, give us a shot. Let us show you what we do like is real. We'll explain it to you. You'll see that it's like, oh wow, this actually makes my life much less complicated. And if for any reason like it doesn't work out and it ends up not being for you, then we can part as friends and we're not going to keep any of your money. We'll let you get back to business as usual. So it's asymmetric risk for a practice to try AI with us, because we say, listen, your worst case scenario is you try it, it doesn't work out, you're out a little time, you learn something new, and as you're back to life as usual, no big deal. Your best case scenario is we deliver on the promise and your operational workload is cut way down, your collections go way up, and your practice becomes more valuable, and now you're working smarter, not harder. So it's like, what do I have to gain?
Let me ask you a question then. Let me ask you a question. Because a lot of docs don't know where they're at right now. If a doctor listening right now pulled up their aging report, and actually some of them can't even do that,
Sure.
to your point before. So if they could pull up their aging report, what should they look for that would tell them, hey, I have a problem, and maybe AI is right for me?
Yeah, pull up your aging report, go to your 120-day plus AR, and if that number is 6 figures or more, then you need to give us a call right away. Very simple, because that's $100,000 minimum that you, like AI, more than likely would have not exposed to risk. And that money that's 120-day plus, your odds of recovering that, I would say, are about 2 or 3%. So they can sit on your books and you can feel good, like, well, I got this $500,000 out there I can recover, but it's never coming back.
More importantly, it's the fact that it's there, meaning that you have a problem in your system.
I'll be like, it does, like that money doesn't get there if there's not a problem in the system, because there's, for every dollar there, there's a something specific that happened, and about 90% of it was avoidable, but human error or designed complexity by the payers that we weren't able to like anticipate. Because remember, it's like a nuclear arms race. It's like we adjust, they change the pieces on the board again, and that cat and mouse game is happening always. And like they're gonna get you. Like the reason why insurance companies are so profitable is not because they don't pay out for the patients, because they don't pay the doctors. They're like literally their whole business model is based on been doing $8 million worth of surgeries in a year and then paying you 5. Now that 3 million is their money, right? Like in some way, shape, or form, whether they're saying, whether they're giving you all these bundling codes and the team is just like overwhelmed by bundling codes where they're supposed to be 3,500, but they're paying you 1,500. Now the team has to fight that battle every day. They get fatigued, or that maybe the overseas team doesn't see like all the like nuance, because you have to keep in mind, like, even with outsourced RCM, like those are big ecosystems. They have hundreds of people that they have to like reshift, so they don't calibrate and move very fast, right? It takes them time to figure things out. So it's not like these are perfect systems. Like I promise you, like I've seen them. This is like very much like, and how much do they actually care about your business, right?
I mean, these are really strong cases for how our system's built and how AI can kind of help us navigate that in the best way possible, for sure. I think that it's super important what Lee brought up before, though, which is the fear from it. And he brought up an amazing point, and I think we should take just a second to talk about it. A lot of people are calling it the mythos moment. And so Lee brought up mythos before, and I think just a 90-second diversion here to help the audience understand it. Because in April, I don't know if anyone followed this, but the company Anthropic, it's the company behind Claude, announced a new model called Mythos. And they did something almost unheard of. They refused to release it. And the last time a major AI lab made that call was OpenAI with GPT-2 back in 2019. Why? because Mythos is exceptionally good at one thing, and that's finding and exploiting software vulnerabilities. In testing, it identified critical unpatched flaws in every major operating system and browser on the planet. The UK's AI Security Institute confirmed it can pull off expert-level hacking 73% of the time. And that was a year ago. No AI could do that at all. So Anthropic handed it to a small group, Apple, JP Morgan, Cisco, NVIDIA, several major banks, Amazon, to harden their defenses first. Within weeks, a Discord group reportedly breached it through a third-party vendor. That's the dangerous part. The breach was contained, but the signal was loud. AI that can compress a cyber attack from weeks to months down to minutes is real, and the walls around it aren't holding. So here's what matters for healthcare. Banks got a seat at the table. Hospitals didn't. And the healthcare runs on more legacy systems than finance. I mean, by legacy systems, I mean antiquated systems like EHRs, portals, networks, medical devices, things like that. So, and it's to your point before. So the Health ISAC has warned Mythos-class tools could shrink ransomware timelines against hospitals from days to hours. Everybody remembers all the breaches in Cigna and in Aetna, and here locally it was, I think, Methodist and Memorial Hermann all had attacks that knocked them down for days. So the millions of private practices we're talking about today, they're even more exposed. So Chris, when you're building AI for medical practices in a world where Mythos exists, how does that shape how you think about security at BAM AI? Like, and what should a practice owner who's hearing this for the first time actually do on Monday morning?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought this up, because I'm going to share something with you. I'm not sure I've shared with you before. So luckily, being on the AI in crowd, I've got a lot of good friends, and one of my good friends, he was like a senior director at Cloudflare. Cloudflare is one of the most well-known like security system kind of backends on the planet. And he's created a new software, and we're actually using his software at BAM. So here's the problem you have as a practice owner. If you can't do anything about your system, it's out of your hands, right? So you look at your EMR, your EHR, your outsourced RCM, like what can you really control? If they get hacked, they get hacked, right? Like the system goes down, you go down. That is just the way it's designed. The power behind taking your system agentic is that you actually are employing a tool that is equipped to match wits with the other AIs, right? So Mythos, like I heard what you're saying, and from my insider sources, we're not talking about hours. We're talking about latency of seconds to crack into the most sophisticated systems inside of the next 6 to 12 months. And that is only going to get better. And the predominant thought right now of those people sitting in boardrooms at these companies is like, oh, well, we're just going to deploy AI and our AI is going to stop their AI and that's fine. But I'm going to tell you something. Once the ball is already in the air, it's too late to start playing defense because they're in seconds. But for your defensive mechanisms, typically that requires a whole new deployment. So like you're going to get exposed, you're going to get cracked, and then you're going to have to go back and fix it and hope they can't get into your system again. But that first hit, like they're going to get because they're faster to the punch than you. So we actually work with a company called Layer 5, and Layer 5 has flipped the entire security game on its head. So what Layer 5 does, well, I'll take a second about this. I know we're probably getting close to time here, but the way that it works in the world for hackers is the first thing they have to do is they have to make a blueprint of all of your IP, your IP addresses. So they say, okay, let me see all these exposed endpoints that I can potentially hack into. So the first thing they do is they do this complete audit and scan and say, hey, here's all the different ways that we can enter into their ecosystem. And then we're going to hunt around for weaknesses. And then we're going to find that door we're going to go through. Okay. So the core problem is that all of these endpoints are exposed to the internet. Like everybody can see them. What Layer 5 does is we take all of those endpoints and they make them invisible. So all of your weaknesses and vulnerabilities aren't exposed to hackers that go looking for them. So what that means is hackers can't even build the battle plan to start to hack. So you're not even an objective on their radar. So that's one of the more, like, if I say like, hey, what's a big reason why you need to go to AI? Well, if you have an AI system that's using a layer 5 tool, well, that actually makes you impervious to attacks because hackers don't even know you exist to attack, which is one of the reasons why the bigger groups are having these conversations with us, because they understand, like, hey, as these new AIs, these new LLMs roll out and become more powerful, their legacy systems are like a system that was built 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's like a baby in a wolf's den. Like, there's just no defense. So you need to deploy the most powerful defense, and that most powerful defense is like, make sure that the bank robbers can't get like, you've seen every bank robbery movie. What do they have? They start with the blueprint of the vault and the layout. You take that away from Ocean's 11, they don't have that. Then how can they actually rob the bank? Right? That's the key to
Kind of like
everything.
stealth mode.
Stealth mode, exactly right.
Chris, this has been absolutely fantastic. I think we've all learned a lot about AI in general, but also BAM, RCM, how it can help the million or so private practices around the country. The bottom line is AI isn't going away, but how it's used in healthcare will determine whether it improves care or adds more complexity without result. Chris, thanks for helping us think through how to approach this in a practical and responsible way. Can you just tell everybody really quick how they can look up BAM, get in touch with them, get a demo, get this started?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'd love to, have this conversation in more detail, because look, there's a lot of territory and terrain to explore in this world. And, I want to stay plugged in on the leading edge. Therefore, keep your audience plugged in to all the latest updates as they come across my desk. But they want to contact us and have a conversation. Highly encourage you to, right? We don't bite. Just come to see us at bam.ai. And the best thing you can do if you're out there is go to bam.ai, and we actually have this free leak assessment. So you click that button, we're going to ask you a lot of information about your practice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create this like really detailed report and evaluation to show you all the different opportunities you have in your revenue. It's completely free. I would absolutely take advantage of that. So just go to bam.ai, and, if you want to have a conversation, click the button and schedule a demo, and we'll have a call and just, see if like AI is a good fit for you or not. And yeah, that's it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.